my old formulas don't work anymore. And so I need to kind of figure out how am I going to get my music heard and be able to do what I love while maintaining, a healthy balance between both worlds. Because the truth of the matter is, like, I'm not making millions of dollars off my stream.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Record Process. This week, we are joined by guitarist and songwriter Jeff Seyoun to talk about his project Erase Theory. As we dig into the inspiration for the band's newest EP, The Good One, we uncover Jeff's journey of self-discovery that was brought on by the ending of his former band Let Live. We discuss Jeff's transition away from social media and the music business as a whole, and how it ultimately allowed him to earn multiple degrees, find financial stability as a musician, and establish a healthy balance between work and music when he was finally ready to return to the stage. We talk about his studio in a backpack, his grappling with the choice paralysis of all the tools we have at our disposal in this digital world, and deciding what he wanted to do with the EP when it was finally finished. It was so nice to reconnect with Jeff after sharing the road with him many years ago. He's a genuine soul, and he was very open and transparent with us. I think you're really going to enjoy this one. So here we go. So let's say you've just finished the latest round of mix revisions, or the last few tracks on a production you've been working on, but you want instant feedback before you go and ship them out. That's where Audio Movers steps in. Their revolutionary technology allows you to stream high-quality audio in real time, making remote collaboration a breeze. And with Audio Mover's Listen To plugin, there's no need for complicated setups or endless file sharing. Simply stream your audio directly from your favorite DAW to anyone, anywhere in the world in real time. And now with their newest plugin, they've made it possible to apply binaural rendering to Dolby Atmos mixes, allowing you to monitor how the spatial audio will sound on Apple Music. Through innovations like this, Audio Movers is leading a revolution in web-based audio transmission and reimagining the way musicians, podcasters, and educators engage with the world around them. So check them out at audiomovers.com and start your free trial today. One of the toughest hurdles for musicians and producers to overcome is recognizing when it's time to let your music go. So stop letting your music sit there on a hard drive waiting for the perfect label scenario to show up. Let DistroKid help you start reaching the fans you deserve right now. There's a reason why DistroKid is the go-to platform for independent musicians across all genres, and it's because they offer seamless and affordable solutions to distribute your music worldwide. Get your tracks on all the most popular streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, and so many more in just a few steps. Time is often money, and DistroKid understands that. So they've eliminated long wait times for processing your music in the system. And in fact, they can get your music live in as little as 24 to 48 hours now. The simplicity of the platform and features like automatic revenue splits and YouTube content IDs make distributing your music and collecting payments incredibly simple. DistroKid does not take a percentage of your royalties, and for one low annual fee, you keep 100% of what you own. It's straightforward, transparent, and affordable. So follow the link in our show notes to get 30% off your new DistroKid membership and start letting your music work for you. If you're a solo musician, a singer, a songwriter, or part of a band, you know that the journey does not end once you have that finished master in hand. Building a lasting career around your music requires a lot of additional activities to do things like develop, promote, and ultimately monetize your creative vision. And for those of us that aren't quite doing Taylor Swift level numbers yet, it helps to have a merchandising partner that can meet you where you're at right now. And SmartPunk MFG is a perfect solution for any and all merch manufacturing needs your band might have. From the first note to the final stitch, they have it all covered with whatever you might need. They do screen printing, they do embroidery, stickers, vinyl and CD production, posters, and pretty much everything else under the sun. They are an incredibly comprehensive online merch solution, offering reasonable prices and feasible quantities for bands of all sizes. So go check out some samples of what they can do at smartpunkmfg.com. And when you're ready, just shoot them an email at info@smartpunkmfg.com and mention the record process to get 10% off your first order. So remember, that's Smart Punk MFG, and it's where creativity meets manufacturing excellence. Jeff Sayoun, welcome to the record process. This is going to be a fun one. We've shared the road together, and it's been a long time since we spoke. You have not stopped, nor have we. So this is going to be a fun catch-up, mostly centered around your solo project, Erase Theory. But before we get to that, how have you been, and what has happened in the last, I don't know, I think we said 8 years since you and I toured together?
I can't believe it. Time. We were just talking about that earlier, how fast, time has been moving. If I sat here and told the entire story of this entire journey of mine, I'd probably take up half of your day. So life is beautiful. Everything is good. I really appreciate you having me on the segment of your show, and it's this is gonna be fun. I'm excited to catch up with you, and we have a lot of things to talk about. So thanks for having me here.
Of course. Yeah. So as mentioned years ago, we shared time on the road when you were playing with Let Live. For anybody that somehow is listening to this and doesn't know, go back and just pause now, go back to your homework and then come back first and foremost, because that colors a lot of it, because just down to the writing, guitar playing, and what y'all did from a live capacity was always really impressive and it was very impactful in the scene. And I know I'm not the only one to think that, right? But obviously, just like anything else, your time there was part of your continued journey as a musician, right? And as a songwriter. So there's been a lot of time since that tour back in, I think, 2016, we said, that we did together. But obviously, so speeding up a little bit since then, you've continued to play a lot, even outside of Let Live. And so where did that journey take you as a guitarist and as a songwriter beyond that band? Let's kind of do the catch up before we get to the EP at hand, as it were.
Yeah, sure. My God, Let Live called it at that time, which is definitely, just going through a lot of growth personally, and trying to discover who you were kind of as a person. We were at that time, we were hitting, more than anybody, 200, 300 shows a year sometimes, especially when
so many.
We were young. And the same with your group as well. That's just what we did. There was no life outside of that subculture of ours. And the end of that chapter was, a blessing in my life. I think it gave me the opportunity to kind of explore other avenues in my life that I had, interest in, because I had been on stage since I was 14, 15 years old. I didn't know anything else. Fast forward, after Let Live, I worked with Hyro the Hero for a minute, which was definitely more, hip hop, metalcore driven, super aggressive, which was super fun. Dear friend of mine. I was really lucky to be able to do that. Funny story you're probably going to laugh about, but I was in Bush for maybe 2 fucking weeks.
I didn't see that on the resume.
I'm probably not even supposed to be saying that, but we went through this whole, I don't know what Gavin was going through at that time. And I had been hit up by my agent at the time, who offered me a guitar player position in that band. I'm not going to get into their business, whatever they were going through. So that was exciting for me. I was kind of getting my toes wet in the construction world for a minute, because I just needed money, and that's just what we did when we were young. And so I remember quitting my job and just learning the entire set in a couple days, just to prep for this performance that we had up and coming. So, I got the gig and I started practicing. I learned the entire set, and I was just so in awe. And my father was we were just so stoked on it. But that actually ended up falling pretty short, because I think whatever was going on in their camp got fixed, I'm assuming. So I got a call and it kind of fell short, and it was just kind of another, I wouldn't call it a letdown. I think I was happy for the opportunity and the fact that I got chosen to do something of that caliber. But after that, I think, just to be realistic, I ran out of money and I started losing a lot of things, just jumping from management to management, label to label, band to band, writing for so many artists. And at that time, when all of that started to take place, there was a major transition in where the industry was moving. Because we started, it was about digital sales and whatnot. And then I was exposed to a vast culture, a mainstream population of that was the stream culture now. It was all about the stream world and Spotify and Apple Music and Pandora, and it was very hard to maintain any sort of financial stability, even though, we've been punk rock since we were kids. But the reality of that sometimes that I think a lot of people oversee is that I have rent to pay, and I got to figure out ways to eat food. I got kind of tired of having, one burrito in the fridge that I'd have to sort of schedule my meals around because I had $20 in the bank to spend. And I think it's a lot of things that artists, they're not so transparent about because we're supposed to always put on this face because we're rock stars and we're influencers, but that's what it is. And I think sometimes it's healthy to kind of be a little transparent and tell that story, which is kind of what I did with this EP. So I went back to construction sites after having articles in like Rolling Stone magazine, for example, or, supporting Deftones or Rise Against or Korn, or, countless amounts of bands that I got to share the stage with. So many bucket list items that just got checked off. I'm so lucky to be able to do what I did. And you too. Our eyes get to see things that most people will never get to see, or even the places we get to travel playing our instruments, We're so lucky. And it took me a long time to really learn to appreciate the value behind that, as opposed to continuously trying to chase a pipe dream that was leaving me half homeless and broke after the dismantle of my band. So I had to join the construction workforce and, stand in line after 10, 11-hour shifts and make $50, starting from, I was a rock star, whatever, quote unquote, a month ago. And now I'm cleaning garbage for guys who are bullying and punking me because, they're hardcore fucking construction dudes. And I'm this pretty boy who never got my hand. I didn't even know how to use a drill. I didn't even know it was on the other side of drywall ever. It was weird. All I did was play and spend my time in studios. And so it was kind of exciting and very challenging, and it humbled me tremendously. I grew to kind of start to learn the value of what life was and family and friends, and maybe a lot of things that I didn't really pay much attention to because I was so hyper focused on being the biggest band in the world and focusing primarily on that, and nothing else really mattered. From that, I started to transition into the audiovisual world where I was doing boardrooms and conference rooms, and then I was selectively chosen on like certain military contracts, and I got to see the whole world being escorted by the Navy SEALs to work 12 feet under the ground doing like AV system design and whatnot.
Wow.
Things that I would have never thought I would have ever explored. And my knowledge in audio and being in a studio as a producer and whatnot, there's a lot of people in the industry that didn't really know how to properly mix rooms. And I kind of knew how to do that. So I use that to my advantage. If you go through my social media, there's definitely a 5-year gap where I couldn't look at it. All of my friends were still touring and on stage, and I craved that so bad. But I knew that I had to finish school and get through my certifications, grow in this industry, because there's remote gigs that will enable me to perform again, but still have financial freedoms to where I don't have to worry about the amount of merch that I sell. I can still do what I love, because I think eliminating that feeling has just made me feel like a 15-year-old again, because I just write songs because I love it. And there's not pressures of like, I have to sell 20 shirts now, or I don't get to go to the studio. I don't get to play. I have to get a job. And so I did that. I've somehow psychotically managed to get myself 2 bachelor degrees and 15 certifications. And now I have a senior project engineer position at the largest AV company in the world. And I oversee most of the U.S. embassies and whatnot. And fucking last week I was on a Fall Out Boy tour, and I worked full time remote doing it.
Yeah.
And now I'm able to kind of expose myself. And I think the EP that I just released, and the one prior to this as well, I tell that story, especially when I was traveling through my military missions or other things that I'm actually not even allowed to talk about, because I've also obtained the top secret clearance, like the highest level. And I'm very lucky to be able to do that and reinvent myself. And I'm so much happier. I'm a stronger version of myself that I've ever been. And the creativity, traveling through my brain cells nonstop is just at an all-time high at the moment. So all I'm doing is writing. I had an Apollo Twin, like a 1-octave little MIDI keyboard. I brought my guitar and my laptop everywhere with me. And every construction site I was in, or every truck I was in, or every hotel room I was in, I was continuously writing. And then anytime I'd come home, I'd reamp everything and create the mixes. And I was somehow able to write a shit ton of songs. And here I am now, I think this brand new version of myself, trying to figure out, my old formulas don't work anymore. And so I need to kind of figure out, how am I going to get my music heard and be able to do what I love while maintaining, a healthy balance between both worlds? Because the truth of the matter is, like, I'm not making millions of dollars off my streams, like maybe my monthlies would be like 20,000 this month, and then maybe 4 next month, or maybe I got placed on a mainstream playlist on like Pandora. Like one of my tracks is at like 1.7 million, but I'm not paying my feels doing that. But I think the
Yeah.
most important thing about it is that I'm doing what I love because I need it, because I've done it since I was a kid. But I think I've accomplished so many goals that which have allowed me to do that and tell my story to hopefully maybe inspire other people who feel kind of trapped in this vicious cycle of how am I going to make it? How do I remain relevant? How, where do I go in this? And just want people to know that like I've done all of that. I've been so fortunate enough to do what I've done in music to date, but here I am again trying to figure out how to keep up and remain relevant. How do I get my music heard? And how do I get back on the road to tour and do what I love? Well, I mean, while still keeping a piece of myself, feeling
Yeah.
pretty solid. So that's kind of everything in a nutshell.
Well, it's a beautiful nutshell, to say the least, Jeff. I am
Thanks.
100% positive that you are inspiring people by pushing this story out about your journey. One, because I'm even one of them, because I'm even feeling it about the trajectory and how genuine and real it is that, you talk about that kind of void where it's funny, like sometimes some musicians might say dipping into like civilian world, not to necessarily intentionally use an army term there, but like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, kind of dipping back into real life and thinking that like those two things can't exist in the same person, that it's either, actually it's interesting. I always think about this analogy. It's like when you're a musician and you go home for the holidays, right? Full disclosure, we're taping this interview actually before the full EP is out, which is really exciting. So we've had a chance to listen to it all the way through, but it will be out when this comes out. And it actually tomorrow is Thanksgiving Day. So everybody will go home. A lot of people go home for the holidays, right? Have a little bit of break. And then your uncle who's, in his 60s and very out of touch is like, you're the musician. Well, good luck with that, because in their mind, you're either busking for change or you're on the radio right between Taylor Swift and Ed Sheeran. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like that's the only two options. They don't realize that bands like ours and musicians like all of us have existed in many different facets inside this middle ground. What I love about your story and that progression of everything is that it's actually living that life, going to these new places, these new experiences, seeing that and getting that new perspective that created this honesty and thus like created this whole like outpouring of creativity in songs, right? It's like a lot of people, I think it's very easy for us as songwriters to get caught up in, well, when I'm in the right place in the right time, then it'll click. Or I just have to find my way back to a point where I can focus all of my time on this, right? But that's not really where life happens. That's not, the good stuff happens when you're not looking for it a lot of times. And I think that's what I love, because that's where you find this clarity. And we just had a conversation earlier with another great songwriter, and he was kind of saying a similar thing where there's kind of these two juxtaposing lifestyles and almost facets of himself that, the release was actually him finding a way that those two can coexist and that was uniquely him, and in the same way, you can be on stage playing to tens of thousands of people on a Fall Out Boy tour, as you just mentioned, while still working remotely for a day job in a completely unrelated. And most people think that is not at all what the day-to-day looks like for anybody that's on stage in that capacity, but that is a reality, and you are that reality. And that's why I think this story and putting out music that you do feel that genuine about, even if it isn't the vehicle that directly pays the bills, is actually just as valuable and just as valued. So quite a wonderful nutshell to start us off. I appreciate it.
It's valuable in the artistic output rather than what some view as like a economical return output.
Yeah, thank you so much. That does mean a lot to me, because I think trying to identify, my path or what my identity was, because as you said, anytime you show up to any party, any dinner, family event, birthdays, anything, you're known as just that rock star guy in the family.
Right.
But it just happened for me where there was a point in time where I didn't know who I was anymore, because that wasn't the full-time thing for me. I had to figure out a way to navigate my way down a different path that would realign me with something that I loved. And that was fucking hard. And these songs talk about it, because as you said, I definitely have two faces on every day. When the sun is up. I mean, as we're speaking right now, like I said, there's a Friendsgiving going on in a conference room downstairs, and I snuck away to be this authentic, real version of myself. And I think that most of this EP talks about the dichotomy of both personas constantly battling each other because no shit, of course I would want to be playing all day, every day, making millions of dollars and not worrying about anything else in my life. But the reality of that right now in modern culture and whatnot, and maybe where the industry is, that's very, very, very challenging to obtain. And so I had to find ways to do it. And so I just, not even knowing that I was writing songs or records or things like this, I was just doing what I love. And then I kind of noticed, oh my God, I'm kind of telling my entire story, and there's these two personalities going next, right? They're battling each other on a daily basis. When the sun goes down, I'm a certain version of myself who I love dearly, and that's been me since I was a kid. In the daytime, I kind of got to put on another face and kind of play the game to keep me on a stage. I have to do what I'm doing. And funny that you mentioned that, like I would play in front of 15, 17, 20,000 people. That tour was in Europe. And so most of the meetings and whatnot that were happening, unfortunately, in the States started happening the minute that I was getting off stage. So I was running off stage completely drenched in sweat, like putting on a different outfit, sitting on my laptop, jumping on a call that I don't even care to talk about to those people at that moment, and
working twice as hard as any one person that's just existing on one side or the other, mind you, right?
I know.
So everybody on tour, it's like, this is not my life is your vacation kind of thing right here. And then on the other side, they're just like, oh man, that must be so fun that you get to be touring in Europe. It's like, I'm still here doing all this as well. I'm just doing it at 11 at night.
Yes, exactly. Barely sleeping. But it was good. It's fun.
More power to you. And again, that's like, doing what you need to do to be able to fulfill that side of who you are and fulfill that creative thirst, right? And for the right reasons even too, right? It does bring that kind of freedom and that creative freedom. You mentioned, taking a mobile rig, right? And writing and trying to outpour some ideas through that and through, your time working in construction and all that, all over the place, which is a tough thing to do in and of itself. Try as I have for so many years, I was never good at like fully fleshing out ideas on tour. So much so that the last couple tours, even Tom knows this, I said, I'm not bringing my mobile rig anymore. I'm just not doing it.
Yeah.
I'm finishing all my work beforehand and I will pick it back up when I get home. And it was freeing in its own way. But I want to start by then seeing like if you can take us back to maybe the first seed of these 5 songs on this EP. Was the first one maybe that hit you, either whether it have been an instrumental idea or, something where you knew, oh, I want to say this, or I want to zero in on this idea lyrically? What do you think the first spark was?
The first track actually was The Good Kind. That song, I started messing around with that maybe 3 years ago or something, 3 or 4 years ago. And it was just a little guitar demo and I was just riffing off. Actually on a construction site with my buddy Brian in a house that we were flipping, I suppose. Some people come in, they have this whole lifestyle of just flipping homes, and we had 2 weeks to sit here. And it didn't matter what we did as long as the property looked somewhat presentable. And I had this I look like a spaceship. I don't even know what the fuck I look like, but all dressed in white, had this whole like onesie outfit on because I was painting the rooms with this spray gun thing that I didn't even know how to fucking use at all because it was the first time I'd ever touched anything like that. And there was a really old acoustic guitar that was sitting in that garage that they were throwing out. And so I ended up grabbing that and playing when anybody wasn't looking at me or everybody went on lunch breaks. And I sat there and started riffing off on that song. I actually wrote the bridge because in the bridge section, there's that, and I'm not a creep, don't think anything weird of me, but we were next door to a school campus. And if you listen very closely to the bridge, I used my iPhone to record the kids playing in the playground and use that as a sample in the bridge on top of the guitar riff that I wrote. And the vocal melody that I wrote there was, I was saying something like, it's cold out here. Like my stage isn't here. It's cold in this place. I miss my warm crowd and, my big stages. And that's what I was saying, because I think I had a kind of a moment where I kind of broke down, which happened to me quite often, because the reality of it is, like, of course I wouldn't choose to be there. It was fucking freezing outside. I was so cold. And I just remember looking over at those children and I missed feeling as free as they did, where like there was no bills, there was no pressure, there was not a global society implementing any sort of stress as to like where you should be at a certain age and what I should own and not own. And I felt really fucking sad. And I remember taking my phone out and I I had this weird idea of recording how happy they sounded. You could hear that in the bridge, and that's me on my cell phone with the guitar, with that shitty ass acoustic. And I was literally saying, like, I miss my warm crowd and, my stage, and there's no stage over here for me. I'm just more or less, I'm just a slave to the corporate world, I'm doing what I'm told just to collect some money, because I need the money to refill my savings account so I could get my own apartment. Because at that time I was living with my sister on her couch, in my mid 30s, and I wasn't the most proud of myself for it. But I think that song definitely reflects that journey, and I was able to fight back, and I stayed focused, and I got through my levels of depression and my loss of identity and not knowing where I belong on job sites like that, feeling like I was this guy in outer space in a onesie, fucking painting rooms, whatever color they told me to paint them, because they in 2 weeks they're going to make $50,000 to $100,000 on that property, and I spent 12 hours of my days there making $50. So I mean, that's just what I had to do to get here. But I'm most proud of that. I think the bridge of that song, which was why that's just the title of the entire EP as a whole as well. And maybe music, I wasn't so relevant anymore because I wasn't the hottest ticket on a stage. And so people didn't really want to fuck with me as much as they used to. But out here on the construction world, I'm the good kind. Like, I'm a hard worker. My work and my ethic was valued. I felt like a good man, even though it wasn't who I was. But so just trying to be a good person, which is why I named the title The Good Kind. So I'm the good kind of man for in this chapter. So that's how that all, But I was by no means watching the children or spying on them in a fucking creepy way.
No.
Because I tell some of my friends, I'm like, dude, I recorded the kids, and they're like, what the fuck did you just do? And I'm like, chill out. They don't know us like that.
Relax. It only feels weird because I'm wearing this head to toe painting suit. And
you know what I mean?
Dude, but generally, all jokes aside, so that song and that idea and that presence of mind, right? That almost like that clarifying moment for you, which was forged out of, admittedly, a bit of a low and a bit of a feeling very much out of sorts from where you had been. It doesn't always happen like that with a release or a group of songs, right? And that's a really powerful unlock to have as a songwriter, to kind of know and be able to really viscerally feel the moment and what you're trying to get at,
right?
And in that setting, that picture, and even, all sensory, relating it back to childhood and being like, this is the idea, this is the feeling that you're trying to give, and then being able to kind of forge ahead. So that was the catalyst for that song, which is really cool. And picturing you like picking up a piece of someone else's trash that's an acoustic, but actually to you can be a very powerful piece of garbage, right?
Yeah. Of course.
And so I love the brilliance of that too. So then you had this song, right? And you had the bones of it and you knew where that was going. What was the next step? Where did you go from that in terms of building out the rest of this group of songs?
Nowhere. I didn't know. I had no idea. Also, like the first track on the EP called Taking a Beat. It is so scary for me to take a break from music at all. Not that I took a break from music, I guess just the career aspects of it, just having it be my full-time gig, because I always thought, there's so many other people under me right now who are working just as hard. And the minute that I take a break, they're about to upstage me and take my place. I was always under this impression that I can't stop, won't stop. And if I take a minute off, it's over. I'll never have it back. Everybody will forget who I am. Nobody will give a shit of what I've done. How will I ever find a place in that community? Like, how will I ever be re-welcomed? Because people will think I'm not working hard at it anymore. Or I'm not that passionate. So why is this label going to invest their money in me when I decided to take a break and do something else? And it just, when there's other people who are not taking breaks. And in Let Live, we didn't have backup plan. Literally, I packed up all my shit, sold everything I had, jumped in a van after paying $1,500 for it on Craigslist, hoping to God it makes it across the country. And we just went. And we didn't even book full tours sometimes. We just had 5 shows booked, and then we'd sit in a Denny's or a Starbucks, like booking the shows and figuring out where we're going. And to an investor or maybe a stakeholder of some sort, whether that's a label or a manager, an agent, that they would view you as a workhorse, like you're passionate, you want it, we'll invest in you. And I always got scared of giving that up for a minute. And it's almost like I was putting my own mental and physical health on the line to hold on to some pipe dream of mine, hoping that nobody would ever take that away from me, because I wouldn't know where to go after that. There was just a moment in the journey where I knew that I didn't have a choice and I had to. And I'm also very spiritual now, and I definitely am all about like the energies and the vibrations in the world. And I felt like the universe was telling me something. Like no matter how many times that I tried to reinvent the wheel and hold on to it for dear life, I got rejected everywhere. Nobody wanted. There was no welcoming into that world. So I thought to myself, okay, I need to reinvent the script, kind of realign my focuses. And that's where I kind of focused on like school and work and finding another path into something that'll give me freedom to be able to do what I love. And then I always thought to myself, when it's the right time, those doors will open up for me and I'll be able to be discovered again and be able to explore and release. And that's exactly what happened. So taking songs like that were just voice notes in my cell phone, I would get bored as hell being somewhere random in the world, whether that was Tajikistan or Brazil or wherever the hell else I was traveling. I just kept writing and taking these voice notes and turned them into songs. And funny story is when I actually ended up graduating and finishing my school, my entire record ended up being finished at the same exact time. And I remember sitting back and thinking, holy shit, like everything, like I just wrote a bunch of songs. Granted, they're in my room. I didn't spend, 50, 100K on large production. Everything we're listening to is just done in my bedroom by myself, whether that's on an analog or an electric kit or wherever I was, whatever I played to do it. But it was finished. And when it was finished, I remember looking up and just saying, okay, I'm done. Like, I'm good. I've served my time. My minutes have been stamped. What the fuck am I supposed to do with this? And I ended up meeting my manager, Gavin, who's still my manager till this day. And he's like, hey, like I have this boutique label called Icons Creating Evil Art. It's not the biggest thing in the world, but it could be a really cool stepping stone for us to at least release these songs and just put it out, make a couple music videos. And it doesn't matter what it is as long as we did. And it just happened. It just happened. I didn't even, I don't know. And I'm grateful for that. It made me feel really, this whole journey has humbled me so much. And I think that now I'm just really grateful for anything that I get, in the music world. And I think it's a beautiful thing. So I'm here.
Amazing.
If you're listening to this show, I'm guessing there's a good chance that you're the type of person that appreciates the time and effort that goes into something meaningful, something lasting, and something that tells the world exactly who you are. Well, Brett and Dave, the co-founders of our sponsor, Oxford Pennant, share that very same appreciation. They've made it easier than ever to elevate any space in your life and express your style with their meticulously crafted American-made pennants. From classic designs to customized creations, each piece is a work of art. It's quality you can feel and a statement that truly lasts a lifetime. I recently had the pleasure of touring their Buffalo-based shop where they tirelessly make each piece by hand. And honestly, their process really is an inspiring fusion of passion and precision. So go make your mark, celebrate your story, and discover the epitome of timeless craftsmanship and personalized expression by visiting oxfordpennant.com today.
Just to get like a bit clear of a timeline. So the self-titled EP that came out, February of this year, correct?
Yep, that's the first one. I have a funny story about that one too.
The closing track on the Good Kind EP, was that also written around the same time?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
The whole collection was a full length. So me, being
cool.
the inexperienced artist that I am at this time, in this modern vision of what I'm used to dropping records. I love dropping albums.
Yeah.
I just love that. But I was very detached. I really was. My focus was in other places, and I didn't really keep up with maybe where the industry had moved. Like, I've been somewhat knowledgeable of it, of course, because of my past experiences. But shit's so different now that I can't even wrap my fucking brain around things sometimes. Like, should I post on like my TikTok or Instagram, Twitch, or is it Facebook, or maybe none of them? Should my songs go on SoundCloud or Spotify, or is it Apple Music, Pandora? Like, where do I go? What am I doing? Oh, you can't release records anymore. That's just a waste of the last 4 years of my life. You need to release singles because that's all that anybody gives a shit about now. And hope to God they land on a playlist, whether it's random or it's not, just as long as your numbers look good, to get placements on tours or to get people to take you seriously. It was just such a whoa, what? I can't drop my record. So I decided, obviously I did like 2 singles and 2 remixes with some DJs. And then we did the first EP. I got on stage, ruptured my Achilles. Then I wasn't walking. And then it's just a whole other thing. And now this is this EP, and I think I did 3 singles, hoping to God, and so we just did the EP now, and I have another 20 songs. I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do with those yet, but I'm thinking maybe, I don't really know yet, but
Yeah.
I'm all right. I'm all right where I'm at. I'm okay.
Listen, Jeff, what you're describing, dude, is I mean, I talk to artists that are our same age, that are much younger than us. It has changed so rapidly and so exponentially. Even people that live inside of it every day still have probably more questions than like definite answers on like what are best practices, right? It's all kind of a pretty wild experiment, but I will say, and this is why I love where all of this tracks back to, and at the origin of creation of these songs is, I think what does get forgotten a lot, it becomes a very cart before the horse thing with a lot of bands where they're just like, I got to get these numbers, these streams, I got to, a whole content story and narrative, and got to get those organic views and things like that. And unfortunately, sometimes some of them like really don't do the work on focusing on getting the best, most earnest and honest product out of a song and a reason for it to be created and something that's worth telling and worth being vulnerable and putting out there. I don't see a lot of vulnerability in a lot of the songs. And I think that's sometimes, before anything else, that's what needs to really be there, so that if you do go out and get those eyeballs, get those ears, however that plan comes together, that it's something that people want to really stick around and believe in. And to your point, what you kind of said earlier, being concerned about, would people care? Would people come back and, let you back in, right, to this like circle, this scene, whatever it is. And I would honestly say, and I'm still a firm believer in it to this day, that, and I'm sure they did, I'm sure there were Let Live fans out there, Hyro fans, I'm sure a bunch of people that have seen you play, know you as a musician, even if you're not aware of it or weren't aware of it at the time. And that respect translated into them truly being curious and truly having not just liking something, but, it's better to have a few people that love something than a ton of people that just kind of like something. Right.
I can't believe you just said that. Yep.
And I think that it's something that was just reaffirmed earlier today for me on an interview I was listening to. But this is a perfect example of it, right? Where it's like the numbers are something that everybody nowadays, because there are so many and it's so easy to go find them as stats on anything, right? People forget that the numbers are actually people, and the ones that really matter are like the breadth and depth of the attachment to the material and the relation. And I think that's what you're kind of proving here, is even in small doses, instead of an album, if it turns into 2 EPs or if it's rolled out as singles, it's like if those singles are from a really honest place and you have a story like this that you're telling us and all of our listeners right now to back it up and, add that context and color to all of it, that's something that people can really dig into and resonate with. I know I can, and even, I like the EPs, I like the record, but like I appreciate them even more hearing where they came from and how real they are, and there's a whole lot of stuff out there, I'm sure, that has way more streams, way more views, whatever, that doesn't have that same depth to back it up, Yeah,
no, I totally get that. And no disrespect to anybody's process. There's never that. Everybody, their own journeys, and this is just mine, and this is just the way that I love to do things. I didn't have 23 writers in my room at all times to formulate some manufactured shit I'm going to put out and then try to do some viral thing, whatever, to get it to pop off so my TikTok or whatever it is, is 1 billion fucking views and streams in this. So we're going to put you on every tour. And then they show up and there's 5 people that show up there.
Yeah.
And then the songs is just a space bar and a laptop. And it's just, but I think a lot of people struggle with that currently, or maybe they don't. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm learning and I'm proud of that. I love to learn. When we were touring together, I was that little shit that would want to walk in the room and be the best in my class, and it just bugged me if I wasn't. And like, I had to know everything and I just had to stick up my ass. I'm not like that anymore. I have like a 2-year-old niece and I'm learning shit from her every day. And that's a beautiful thing. Like I've just remained humble and just absorbing like this brand new sponge out of a convenience store, that you just took home, and I'm just absorbing anything that I can, because I think so much has changed and I have so much to learn. I have so much work to do. But I think what's most important is that I'm healthy, I'm stable, I'm driven, and I'm excited about what I'm doing. I feel like a kid. And that's exactly what the goal was in all of this.
Most importantly, the bones are good.
Hey, depends. It depends, because fuck this. Now you like wake up. It's like, I wonder, you wake up and open your eyes and stare at the ceiling for a second. I don't know if you guys can relate or not, but it's like, I'm about to move. I wonder what's going to hurt today. I think yeah, oh, it's my back, or it's, or just, no, I eat healthy. I go to the gym. I stay as healthy as I can.
And the songs, they have a great structure, and the lyrical depth is there, and they also make it a great skeletal system. So I wanted to talk about how we came from the construction site of like the demos to like where they ended up, because I mean, like, there are industrial elements involved in these recordings, but I don't think that's a hammer for a snare
No,
or a
no.
drill. So, sorry, that
That's
was
awesome.
a poor joke. But yeah, what was the process of taking it from these demos that you're working on to where they ended up?
Yeah. Sometimes they started out on a construction site. Sometimes they were me playing really late at night in hotel rooms. Sometimes they were at home. Before COVID, I had a residency at a really beautiful studio at Letlive, actually. We did some of our records over there as well. And I was there for about 12 years and whatnot. I mean, rest its soul, it shut down during the COVID phase of our lives. And it just, all of this was just a work in progress in so many different places and areas. And I took my time with it. I mean, there were so many sessions where I call them sessions, but I would sit down and do nothing, maybe for 6 hours, like nothing would happen. 8 hours, like nothing. I'd walk away with nothing. And then sometimes, like, I had a song on the last EP called Stay, which is like the biggest release. I wrote that song like 30 minutes. Some songs just happened like that. It was so organic, and there was no timeline. And again, I didn't have like this, I have to get this done and get this submitted and get this released by this day. There was none of that. I just do it just to do it. Even the songs I'm writing now, I'm just writing songs. And my manager is like, "You're a psycho. You're crazy. Balance your life." And I'm like, "Well, this is my life. This is what I love to do. I write songs." And so
You don't tell bookworms to like, whoa, relax, stop reading so much. Yeah.
no way. I always doing it. And so throughout this process, my studio is in my backpack at this point. And I think growing up, a lot of people told me that it's impossible to mix and create records on the road. You have to be in a studio. And they used to piss me off. And so I grew up formulating my own like sonic ways of, or engineering ways of just how to create and mix and get things to sound good just on headphones. And that could have been balancing my ears to knowing what sounds good in a specific set that I have in my ears. So
Yeah.
I've done that since I was a kid, luckily, because now I was able to travel, and it didn't matter where I was. I knew what sounded good or what wouldn't, and I'm able to mix on the fly. Even in airplanes, sometimes I would be writing, and the digital world of music has grown substantially. You can't even compare it to what it was 10 years ago. And so I have like analog drum sets, and then I even have like an electric kit at my house with like, mesh heads and whatnot. So I play it all. I mean, even if I do it on an analog kit, most of the time in this process, a lot of this is digital. A lot of it I just transpose into MIDI. So there's that, and then you're sound replacing. A lot of the guitar tracks that I wrote in hotels and whatnot, they're all DI. I always have DI safety lines so that when I came home and actually wanted to go through the mix process, it's easily reamped. I went from having stacks of heads in this like and whatnot, and now I'm just using my quad cortex at home with like my custom definitions of my tones and whatnot, and I'm running everything through these interfaces, and it's just fucking kind of brainless to some degree at this point because everything is just, I can do it anywhere.
Do you find yourself ever suffering with choice paralysis? That you have so many apps with like, with the quad cortex, with all the DSP choices you can make?
It's everything, even distribution, or even like how many songs are being released in the world today.
Yeah.
It's just confusing, or the platforms you got to put everything. It's just a lot of everything now. It's so much. And it's very hard to keep track. Like sometimes I'll do interviews like, "Oh, what are you listening to?" I'm like, "Holy shit, you literally just asked me." Like, that's such an impossible question. Like it is, but the amount of artists that are out in the world now and how much music, and anybody with a laptop's dropping songs. I mean, we'll do like TuneCore. What a distro kid, like $20-$30 a month, whatever plan you choose. And you have global distribution at any platform you choose. Like the amplifiers, the plugins, the presets, just there's so much to learn. I'm not spending 12 hours in a studio the way that I did when I was younger, because now I might have projects that I'm stuck on for a month that are 10, 12-hour days. So I don't have 6 hours to create content and focus on that. And even aside from music, like I can't just be a musical artist now. Now I have to be also like a video editor and a content creator. And they
Right.
have to go hand in hand. And I've met so many people even in this process where it's like, oh, check out my songs. Oh, cool. But like, what does your content look like? What about your TikTok reels, or what's your? And I'm like, yeah, but what about my song? I wrote music. Like, that's fine. The music's fine, but like, what does the video look like? And I'm like,
Yeah.
holy shit! Like, oh my god, how do I? It's so much, so fast, and it's a beautiful thing, so long as you can keep up and remain educated, and so many releases. But we're getting our asses handed to us.
But it's overwhelming, right? Yeah, totally. And I mean, that feeling of overwhelm is shared by 99.9% of all independent artists out there, whether or not, they're meeting their own definition of success or not. And I think what's really interesting and really telling, kind of what you just mentioned in challenging your own preconceived notion of how, air quotes, real records are made. Well, real records are made in a studio, right? Like anything you're doing on your laptop, that's just the demo. That's just writing, that's just, bass line, whatever. In the same way, it's like it kind of goes hand in hand and in parallel with the whole trajectory and like kind of career path this EP is about you grappling with, right? Where it's just like, well, I'm not in a real band anymore. This is, you know what I mean? Like these are songs, but, or even, our wonderful weird uncles that don't get it, right? It's just like, well, you're not a success. You're not a real musician. You're just like a guy that's playing guitar or whatever. You know what I mean? Like hopefully maybe one day keep trying, you'll make it. It's like, well, no, you've already like made it, right? Like, and these songs, this project is already very real, and it's as real as you'll allow it to be, and as real as the stuff that you put into it, right? And I think in that same way, you were able to find a way through those songs and those moments to challenge that notion, which is like everybody kind of like defeating those limiting beliefs in our minds, you know what I mean? Like, which is really the hardest thing. And I think sometimes that's maybe even more important than a musician or songwriter that has every lyrical trick in the book and can play circles around everybody on their instrument, is the ability to keep pushing to get past the I'm not good enough phase and to risk that failure, right? To put something out. And in the same way that, it's like, you're like, I don't fucking care. I did these on my laptop. My studio's my backpack, and these are the songs,
and check out how they rip.
Yeah. To have that confidence to say, and this is kind of why I was the other time when you mentioned, the album being finished right as you were finishing your schooling. The biggest question I have is, how did you know it was done, right? How did you know it was time to go to the next phase? How did you know it's time to let these out into the world?
Well, you know more than anybody as well. Like, you can relate to this. Like, are songs ever really finished? I mean, I'll listen back to this EP. I'm like, shit, I should have did this, or I wish I'd. Sometimes you just need to find peace with your creation, and you feel sort of, it's not levels of exhaustion per se, but you kind of know it's like, I've given everything that I wanted to give in this chapter of my life to this collection, and it's time to just walk away from it peacefully, and it's something that I could be proud of, and I'm okay with that. Like, they're not the most perfect songs in the world, but I think at that time in my life they're perfect to me, and I wrote them and then edit and mix and and then you're releasing, and now I barely even got to play them live. I'm about to go on my first tour with this band in a van, probably playing in front of 10 people all over again, facing my fears, because it's something that I never wanted.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Like, how do you go from such a prideful, proud musician in this to like, what am I going to post on my Instagram? Like, I'm supposed to be this. I just got off a Fall Out Boy tour, for example, and now I'm going to post shit about Erase Theory. I'll probably lucky if 10 people show up, I think, but it's building from scratch. And to reflect on something you said earlier, one of my friends said, dude, it's better to have 5 people in a room love what you're doing wholeheartedly versus 5,000 or 50,000 people in a room who don't even know who the fuck you are. And I was like, you're right. And it's my Christmas gift to myself and, my bandmates are taken. And it's something I'm proud of the journey, and I might not be the biggest artist that in this moment, but I'm super proud of it, and I'm excited, and I'm happy to be able to be lucky enough to be doing this, because I know a lot of people who maybe went through what I went through would never even take another stab at it. It's just going to be like some pastime story you're going to tell at the Thanksgiving table tomorrow of like, like back in the day I did this shit with my friends and this and that.
Right.
But I'm just not
right. And you're moving forward, you know what I mean? And honestly, what a wonderful, I love the way you said that. It's like a Christmas gift to yourself, to go out and and play these songs. But it's really true. And I think sometimes we are our own worst critics, as most people can say. And to follow up that, I forget who is credited with the quote. I've heard it a number of times, but songs are never really finished. I don't think they're just abandoned, and something has to get in there and tell you it's time to abandon it, whether it's yourself, a label, a manager, whatever, that says we got to go, we're moving on. But if you can find that, I think that's the toughest thing about an artist with a solo project in your position. You have to wear all of those hats. You have to find the time that says, I'm starting this. And you have to wake up and say, I'm continuing it because I love it. And then you have to say, I'm done because I love it and it's time to move on and I'm going to put it out. And you've done all that. You're hitting the road. You're completing that full circle cycle. People that listen to these now get to see you perform them and get to really create that full circle moment, which, again, you said it. I don't think there are a lot of artists out there that certainly wouldn't have the courage to do that and wouldn't make the space in their life to do that. So the fact that you did that is awesome. And then the fact that the songs are as meaningful and as interestingly constructed as they are is a bonus on top of all of that, Jeff, truly.
Thanks so much. I also want to give credit to my friend Sergio, if he's even going to be listening to this show. He plays in Dance Gavin Dance now, but he's just like my younger brother. He's like one of my best friends in the world. And he was somebody who was around through this entire process because he's one of the only people that I'd ever show songs to. And does this suck? But yes, it's horrible. All right, let me do it again. Or, you have that real friend who actually, you got people in your life who are like, that's amazing. And then 5 months later, you listen to it and you're like, this is just garbage. What the hell are you? He was always like, do it better. And so when I thought the songs were not done and because they were never finished, I kept re-singing. I had to teach myself how to sing again. It was a lot. I had days where I sat down on the couch. I literally was in tears because I was like, I can't sing it. I can't. What am I going to do? How am I going to get my voice up, to perform, to support powerful songs? Or what am I doing? There was a point in time where I just kept doing that and I kept showing him the songs. And then he called me and he's like, you have to stop. You're finished. These songs are sick. Leave it alone. Let people listen to this. We're going to take these songs. We're going to bring in another fresh ear. So I flew to Nashville to hang out with my friend Jonathan Dolsa, who's a really cool producer, up and coming, super young blood, just awesome, and just to have a fresh ear on the songs. And we were able to heighten everything that I had, significantly putting things through his mix bus. But Sergio had a lot to do also with I'm coming over and taking your hard drive if you fucking don't stop. And I was like, I'm done. I'm finished. So I'm really lucky to have a friend like that in my life because I might have just kept going. I may have just deleted and just kept, especially the voice. I think the vocal that's hard. It was to be kind of vulnerable like that and kind of, everybody sees me. I was a frontman before Let Live. I've been singing since I was young, but I stopped for nearly a decade because I was just a guitar player. So in my own insecure brain, I'm just like, how are people going to see me as the singer of a band? Nobody knew that version of me. But I've had success when I was younger in the pop world, being a singer. And then I just sang backups for Jason. I was just a shadow. And so it's like, is that embarrassing? What are they going to think? How I say that in one of my songs too. I'm very cautious of what they're going to think of me, but you got to not care about that. So I was able to build my confidence. I think that's pretty solid. And I just sang my ass off every single effing day.
Dude, that's brilliant. And it's the theme of identity again, right? That we all kind of fight with, and what this EP is about and your journey. But then also, thankfully, like you said, having somebody else in your corner to help you, give you that feedback and that little extra nudge, right? You might have gotten there, but it was good. And I'm glad that he did. And I'm sure, I know it for a fact, there are other people that are out there that are glad that you had that friend at that time too, right? And obviously you will be. And I think all of this, benefited for it. But it's not without showing, go find yourself that friend. If you're someone out there struggling with a solo project, right? And it's just you and you're like, yo, I've been doing this for 7 years now. maybe it's time to go find that friend that's going to tell you to stop, right? Or tell you, go take these and go to this person, and we're moving on to the next phase. That's really important. I mean, nothing's going to happen unless you shoot your shot, right? You know what I mean? Gretzky had it right with that, miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So you took a number of shots on this. Everybody go listen. The Good Kind EP is out now. Jeff, where can everybody find and follow along? I'm not exactly sure when this is coming out. Perhaps those dates have already lapsed, but if not, where can they keep up and follow up? Because as you said, there's a whole lot more music to come. It sounds like, I hope anyway. So I want everybody to follow along and go find it. Where can they do that?
I appreciate that, dude, wholeheartedly. The stamp is just at Erase Theory on all platforms. And of course, as we all would guess, it's available on every streaming platform known to man. So again, Erase Theory at Erase Theory comes out on the 30th. And I hope it's something that everybody can kind of enjoy or relate to some degree. And, I think just enjoying the music is most important. So yeah, and I appreciate it. Thank you in advance.
Awesome.
Cool.
I really commend Jeff for offering us such serious honesty about the uncertainty he faced in himself over the years, the uncertainty he had in his career path, and everything that comes along with that. I think a huge part of what it means to be a great artist and a great creator is remaining honest. Honest about the world around you and honest about your perspective within it. But sometimes that kind of honesty can be elusive when it comes to taking an inward look at ourselves. And I think there's a freedom in finding the bravery it takes for us to admit that we are still learning, and that we will always be learning for that matter. And Jeff touched on this, and I really commend him for it because it's really important. It's not just important in terms of overcoming perfectionist tendencies. It's important in that it shifts our gaze to the horizon and keeps us in touch with the big picture and with our ultimate goal of the artist that we are creating, not just any singular piece of work. And it's the freedom and space that comes from this mindset shift that actually gives creatives the room to understand who they are. So I challenge all of us to go find that space for ourselves this week. Find the freedom to know yourself by doing the work. Find the courage to learn from your work by finishing it. And finally, to be humble enough to recognize when you are preventing yourself from truly being honest.
The Record Process.